Hi, my name is Khadra, and today I'll be addressing the use of a digital text to meeting the syllabus learning outcomes and critical literacy skills of students in an engaging manner. The digital text that will be addressed is Why Should I Recycle? By Jan Green, which is annotated on YouTube by Brain Snacks Books 2025. The text outlines the importance of why we should recycle and the impact it has on our environment. The story outlines students walking past their teacher's house, Mr. Jones, and seeing him put a special box with cans, bottles, and papers, and he expresses that all these will be taken away and used again. The text outlines a student perspective which makes it a familiar experience for the children. The student in the test asks, "What is recycling?" Mr. Jones at school asked that students what we do with our trash, and student responded with, "Put it in the garbage." Mr. Jones expresses that garbage contains lots of useful things that can be recycled. The student then asked, "Why should we recycle?" Students were then taken to a recycling centre that had separate containers for bottles, cans, plastic, clothes, and paper. This provided students with examples of different things that can be recycled. Mr. Jones asked students, "What do you think happens to all the glass that goes here?" Students responded with it all gets broken down to make new shiny bottles. Mr. Jones asked, "Guess what happens to all the cans?" They get melted down to make new metal things such as bikes and scooters. This text effectively provides students with examples of recyclable materials and how they effectively can be reused to create useful resources. Common experiences were related in the text, such as mentioning the food we buy at supermarkets come in packages that can often be used again. This creates a familiar experience for children to think about when shopping. This is shown as the students tell their mum, "Don't waste" when throwing finished products in the bin. The learning focus includes utilizing the text to outline the importance of taking care of our environment through recycling to meet the HSIE 2024 syllabus for a Stage 2 Year 3 class. In the text, recycling was defined in an engaging manner with reference to what happened after materials are recycled and experiences of familiar resources that students interact with that can be recycled. The learning intention includes learning to identify strategies that minimize waste and effectively recycle resources to sustain environment. Critically think about the importance of recycling and taking care of the environment, and utilizing digital text to understand recycling. The learning outcome that we met in the HSIE syllabus includes a HS2GEO01. Explains how people care for Australia's environment and participate in Australian society using geographical information. The content descriptor that will be met is identify strategy that minimize waste and make the most of resources to sustain environments. The lesson plan includes an introduction where students are asked to reflect on their background knowledge from previous lessons, what they know about recycling, and how it positively impacts the environment. Students think, pair, share their responses. It is then followed with introducing the "Why should I recycle?" text with a group activity creating a poster on facts they learned from the book, and finally, students engage in a reflection circle. Students are asked to reflect on previous lesson and ask the following questions using the think, pair, share strategy. What is recycling? Why is it important? How does it help our environment? What can be recycled? Students share the responses with the class using think, pair, share strategy, and requesting students reflect on background information on the topic increases the engagement of students. FanH 2021 outlines that the Think, Pair, Share strategy increases the knowledge and understanding of students as they gain new ideas and perspective on peers, which encourages them to engage effectively in the learning materials. The text, "Why Should I Recycle?" by Jen Green by YouTube is introduced to the students. After students watch the video, teacher will pause on important pages and reinforce the questions. What is recycling? What materials did they recycle? How does recycling help our environment? How do the pictures, color, and images help us understand the text? Have you had a personal experience with recycling? And who is the audience? Students then think, pair, share responses to these questions, provided enough time and discussion to formulate effective responses and gain a deeper understanding on the topic. Students then work in groups to complete a poster on the importance of recycling based on information found in the text. Students can draw or write the information. This is a creative task that encourages students to think about ways to recycle, types of materials that can be recycled, and why this is vital for the environment. Students present the posters to the class, with each student taking a turn explaining one fact on recycling found in the text and applied to their poster. To conclude the lesson, students can play a reflection circle where they all take a turn sharing what they learned, what one way to help the environment, and whether their perspective has changed. Critical thinking, understanding, and thinking with regard to the concept of recycling and taking care of our environment was met through asking questions when presenting the text and when creating a poster on the importance of recycling. The four resource model addresses code breaking resources, text participant resources, text using resources, and text analysis resources. For instance, code breaking resources were met as students identify how the use of color, sound, and images aided the interpretation of the text. Text participation resources were met as students reflected on their personal experiences with recycling. Text using resources was also met as students identified who the audience is, and the text analysis resources was outlined as students had the influence of the text on their personal perspectives. Utilizing technology such as YouTube effectively engages and motivates students in their learning. It also highlights to students that technology can be utilized as a learning tool to support their learning.